Today I am going to explain chapter Getting Ready for the Adventure. So I'm going to start. This is an extract from Miguel de Cervantes' great novel about the Don Quixote. Just you can see it is written pronounced as Quixote. So don't read it Quixote. It's a Don Quixote. Means what this part of the story is written by Miguel de Cervantes, a great novel about Don Quixote. Miguel de Cervantes is the novel name, and there is one character, Don Quixote, the eccentric gentleman who fancied himself a knight. Eccentric means what? He used to do unusual work, insane, kind of a mad person who used to imagine that he was like a soldier. He loved reading stories about knights, chivalry, princesses, magicians, enchanted castles, and so on. He read different kinds of books about knights, means of soldiers, chivalry means of bravery, many princes, magician, and enchanted castles. Enchanted means attractive castles, and so on. In fact, he was so absorbed in these fantasies that he slowly started to lose touch with reality and began to believe that he was one of these fictional heroes. So, what happened? And he found himself he was totally absorbed in those fantasies, stories, as is what he started keeping himself on those places, and he was not in connect with the real world, began to believe that he was one of these fictional story, and he started believing that he was one of the character of those fictional stories. Now, many years ago there lived in Spain a very old-fashioned gentleman who was more than 50 years of age and quite tall and slender. Now, what happened many years ago in the Spain, a very old-fashioned gentleman who was more than 50 years old. He lived there. He was quite tall and slender. His face was thin, his nose was long, and his hair was turning gray. His face was thin, his nose was long, and his hair was turning gray in color. He had many odd ways and did so many strange things. He faced many different things and did many strange things as well. He was called the good Mr. Kihona, and that's why people used to call him the good Mr. Kihona. In the half of his old-fashioned house, a short rusty sword was always hanging, and leaning against the wall were a rusty lance and a big rawhide shield. In the old-fashioned house, half of the halfway rather of his old-fashioned house, there was a one sword that was mounted, and beside this, leaning against the wall, a rusty lance. Lance means what is spear, bhala, dirty spear that was leaning, and just beside it there was a big rawhide shield that is used for fighting, for protection in the battlefield, circle shaped. These weapons had belongs to his great grandfather, not grandfather, great grandfather. Means what these weapons belongs to his great grandfathers. Mr. Kihona spent almost all his time in reading stories of knight and their daring deeds on battlefields. Now, Mr. Kihona, he spent most of his time in reading about the stories of knights, or you can say soldiers, and their brave task on the battlefield. One day, He said to himself, why should I always be a plain farmer and sit here at home? Why may I not become a famous knight? And one day he said, what? Why should I be like plain farmer? Why should I be simply a farmer? Why should I not be like a soldier? I will mount my noble horse and ride out into the world to seek adventures. Now he said, what? Now I will mount on my noble horse, means what? Climb. I will sit on my noble horse and then I will start riding to seek to get adventure into this world. Means what? I will get many adventures. The first thing he did was to clean up an armor that had. Everybody knows about the armor is what a kind of because a metal covering that used to cover the body of soldiers in the battlefield. That is called armor. Belonged to his great grandfather and had been for ages lying forgotten in the corner. Now what happened? Was he cleaned up that armor that was kept for many years at the corners and forgotten by him. He polished it with the great care and cut some pieces of pasteboard to supply the missing part. Pasteboard, you can say the cardboard, something like that. A type of cardboard you can see. So what happened? He polished that armor, and then after what happened, he used cardboard as well to paste there the parts which were missing in that armor to make it perfect. He painted them to look like steel and he colored those cardboard to look like steel. There was an old brass helmet too, and the straps of holding it were lost. There was one helmet as well that was used for the battlefield, but the strap that was lost. But Mr. Kihona patched it up and found some green ribbons which served instead of straps. Now what happened? Mr. Kihona he made some place and he used great ribbon. He fixed that thing as to use as straps. He held it up and felt very proud to think that his head would be adorned with so rare a piece of workmanship. And the moment when he held it up and he was feeling very proud, as he was feeling that what he was totally different from others and he was feeling very rare, a piece of workmanship. Means what he was thinking himself a soldier rather. Now he needed a horse, for every knight must have a noble horse. He thought the poor old creature in the barn was just the stuff for a war horse. Now he needed a horse because a knight, a soldier should have a horse, a noble horse rather. So he thought about his old creature that was there in the barn. Means what right you can say stable just and that was a perfect stuff material for the horse for the war horse means what he could use that horse as a war for the war, sorry. He will carry me most gallantly, he said. Now I shall call myself Don Quixote. And he said what, that horse will carry me most bravely and I can call myself Don Quixote. He cried, since my home is in the district of La Mancha, I shall be known throughout the world as a Don Quixote de La Mancha. What's name is nobler than that? And he said, what? As I stay in the La Mancha, so everybody in this world would call me Don Quixote de La Mancha, and no name is nobler or better than this one. So one morning Don Quixote put on his armor and the old helmet. He took down the short sword and belted it to his side. So one morning what happened? He put on his armor, and then after he put his old helmet as well, and he took his old short sword and belted it to his waist side rather. He swung the leather shield upon his shoulder and went to the barn and saddled his horse. Now what happened? He went towards the leather shield. He means what he put on his leather shield on his shoulder, and then he went to the barn or stable and saddled to his horse, as means what he decorated his horse as well. Saddle means for making seat for sitting. Then he mounted and rode silently through the sleeping village. And now he was mounted on that horse and he was riding silently through the sleeping village and the quiet. Feel, I trust that I shall meet with some worthy adventures, he said to himself. And now he said, I believe that I will get some worthy adventures, means a perfect adventure that is suitable for him, he said to himself. But he soon realized that he was not a knight, for no one had conferred that honor upon him. Must he return home? But very soon he realized that he was not a knight and he did not get that respect from anyone. So he thought that he should go back to his home. No, that I shall never do, he cried. I will ride onwards, and the first worthy man that I meet shall make me knight. Then, after he said, what I will not go back, I will go further rather. And the first person whom he will meet, he will call him, he will make him his knight, or you can say companion. So he resumed his journey. The hour passed, but neither man nor beast took note of time or distance. The horse, in the quest of sweeter grass, carried his master to the summit of a gentle hill. There, in the valley below him, Don Quixote saw a little inn by the roadside. No, Don Quixote he resumed his journey, and the many hours passed, and he did not get any man or beast who would take care of, who would respect, who would think about his time or distance, means what how much time he has spent or how much distance he has covered. And his horse, he was looking for sweet grass. He was carrying his master to the top of the gentle hill, and there in the valley below, Don Quixote he got a little inn by the roadside. Inn means what you can say small hotel. Ah, ah, did I not say that we should have an adventure? He cried, and he said to himself, I said myself that I will have adventure. He gathered up the reins and charged down the hill, imagining that inn was a great castle with the four towers and a deep moat and a drawbridge. Now he gathered the rein means what that is called lagam in Hindi. Means what he controlled, he pulled his the lagam of the horse, and then he started moving down up the hill, and he was believing that in that small hotel was a great castle with having four towers and deep moat means what you can say ditch, and a drawbridge. There was one drawbridge as well to cross that moat. With the greatest joy in the world, he rode onwards the door of the inn. Now he was very happy and he was riding towards that the door of inn. The innkeeper saw Don Quixote riding up, and he went out to welcome him. He was dying to laugh at the warlike appearance of his visitor, but he kept as sober as face as possible. The innkeeper of that hotel he came out, but when he saw the appearance of his guest, he was about to laugh, but anyhow he controlled himself and he presented himself very quiet. Sir Knight, he said, will you honor me by alighting from your horse now. That housekeeper he asked from him, sir, will you come down, and will you give me this honor to make you come down? I have no bed to offer you, but you shall have every other accommodation that you may ask. And he said, what, I don't have bed, but other facilities, whatever you are looking for, I can provide you. Don Quixote still supposed that the inn was a castle and that the innkeeper must be the governor. Now Don Quixote he was still believing that the inn was a castle and the innkeeper was working as a governor. So he answered in pompous tone, means a very proud tone, Senor Castellano, Mr. Castellano, anything is enough for me. No bed is so sweet to me as the field of battle. And he said, what? Anything is perfect for me, and I don't need any bed, as I love the field of battle. You speak well, Sir Knight, said the amused innkeeper. Amused means happy innkeeper. He said, you said very well. All right, and enter to this this hotel, rather this inn. He held the stirrup while Don Quixote dismounted. Stirrup means the lower part of a horse, where the strip is used for fastening around the neck of the horse. That is called stirrup. He held the stirrup while Don Quixote dismounted, and when the Don Quixote got down, take good care of my steed. And the Don Quixote said, take good care of my horse as well. There is not a fine horse in this world. Means what? This is the best horse in this universe. The innkeeper promised so and led the horse away to the stable. Now what happened? Innkeeper he promised to him, and now he led the horse toward the stable. When the innkeeper returned, he found Don Quixote pulling off his armor. The helmet had been tied fast with the green ribbons, and it could not be taken off without cutting them. Now, when the innkeeper returned back, he found that Don Quixote he was taking off his armors from his body, but his helmet was still on. Why? Because it was tied up, it was fastened with the green ribbons, and he was unable to take off that helmet until unless he was going to cut that strip, that green ribbon rather. Never shall anyone harm those ribbons, cried Don Quixote, and after vainly trying to untie them, as he was obliged to leave them as they were. Now he never wanted to harm that helmet, and what happened? He tried vainly means what? Without getting any result. Output means what? He tried his best to take off his helmet, but he could not do so. He decided to take on as it is on his head. It was funny sight to see him sitting there and his head enclosed in the old patched helmet. So it was looking very funny that he was sitting over there, an old patched helmet that was on, still on. Now, Sir Knight, said the innkeeper, will you not have some food? He asked. The innkeeper asked from the Don Quixote, will you not have some food as well? I will indeed, answered Don Quixote. It was hard for the poor man to get the food to his mouth, for his helmet was much in his way. By using both hands, however, he managed to help himself. And he said, "What I will have my food indeed." But when he was having his food, he was bound to use his both hands for having food because from the one hand he was managing his helmet as well. Suddenly, however, the thought again came to him that he was not yet a knight. He stopped eating. The last poor morsel was left untouched on the table before him. His appetite had left him. Now, suddenly, what happened? He realized that he was not a soldier and he stopped eating. And the last bite of the food he could not touch, and his appetite was gone, means what he was not feeling hungry now. Alas, alas, he groaned. He said very sadly, I cannot lawfully ride out on any adventure until I have been dubbed as knight. And he realized that he cannot go, he cannot ride any place lawfully or by rule, and he cannot do any adventure until unless he is declared as a knight, as a soldier. He rose and beckoned to the innkeeper to follow him to the barn. Now, what happened? He requested to the innkeeper, he gestured rather to the innkeeper to follow him towards the barn. I have something to say to you. Now, he said, what? I have something to say to you. He whispered, he spoke very softly. Then, falling at the innkeeper's feet, he cried, shall I never rise from this place till you have promised to grant the boon which I am about to beg of you? And he said, what? I'm not going to stand up, I'm not going to leave your feet until unless you promise me whatever I'm asking from you, and you are going to give that boon. So innkeeper did not know what to do. He tried to raise the poor man up, but he could not. At last he said, I promise, name the boon which you wish, I will give it to you. Now innkeeper tried his best to raise him up, but at last he could not do that, and he said, what? Now he said, whatever the wish you have asked, I will try. I will try my level best to give you. Oh, noble sir, answered Don Quixote, I knew you would not refuse me. Allow me to watch my armor in the chapel of your castle tonight, and then in the morning. Chapel is a worshipping place where you can see here, place of worship. Means what early people they used to keep their weapons at one place for worshipping. So he's saying the same thing. Allow, and he said, what it was, allow me to watch his armor at the chapel of his castle tonight, and then in the morning. Suddenly he stopped after saying, then in the morning. And what shall I do in the morning? Asked the innkeeper. The innkeeper asked, what shall I do in the morning? Kind sir, he answered, do this. Bestow on me the honor of knighthood, for I long to ride to every corner of the earth in quest of adventure, and this I cannot, I cannot do until I have been dubbed as knight. He said, what in the morning you will bestow me is what grant me. He said, what in the morning you will declare me rather. You declared me as a knighthood, the honor of knighthood. And he said, what? I have desired to go through every corner of this earth to get adventure, and this I cannot do until unless I have been declared as a knight or soldier. The innkeeper smiled. Certainly, he said, arise, and I will do all that you ask for me. He said, innkeeper smiled and he said, what? Whatever you are saying, I will do. Just arise, means get up. Now lead me to your chapel. I will wash my armor there, said Don Quixote. Now he said, just lead me towards your chapel, and there I will watch my armor. Who said? Don Quixote. I would gladly lead you there, but at present there is no chapel in my castle. It will do just as well to watch your armor in some other convenient place. Many of the greatest knights have done this when there was no chapel to be found. And innkeeper said, "What? Unfortunately, we are not having any chapel in our castle. So what happened? You can do one thing. You can see your armor some other convenient place." And he said, "What? Many greatest knights they have done this when they did not get chapel in the castle." "Noble sir, I believe you," said Don Quixote, "since you have no chapel, I shall be content with any place." And he said, "Noble sir," Don Quixote said, "Noble sir, since you do not have any chapel, worshipping place, so I would be satisfied with any place, whatever you will choose." "Then bring your armor into the courtyard of my castle," said the innkeeper. "Guard it bravely until the morning and sunrise. At sunrise I will dub you a knight." "But stop," cried the innkeeper. "Have you any money?" So he said, "What? No problem. Now you can bring your armor to our courtyard." And then he said, "What? You will take care of that your armor very bravely till the morning, and in the morning I will declare you as a knight." "But stop. Do you have money?" "Not a penny," was the answer. "I have never read of any knight carrying money of carrying with him." And Don Quixote answered that he did not have a even he did not have a small amount, a penny rather. And he said, "What? I did not read any knight, any soldier should carry money with him." "Oh, well, taken there," said the innkeeper. "The books you have read may not say anything about it. That is because the author never thought it worthwhile to write about such common things as money and the clean shirt." So the innkeeper said, you have made mistake. Actually, no book mentioned this thing, because the writer, the author, they think that they do not they do not feel happy, or they think that this is not perfect to mention about money and clean shirt in their story about a soldier. That's why they do not mention it, this small thing. It does look reasonable and read Don Quixote, but I never thought of it. And he said, "Well, it's a perfect thing, perfect answer. I think you are giving perfect reason rather." And he said, "What? I never thought of it." Who said? Don Quixote. "Then let me advise you as a father advised his son," said the innkeeper. "As soon as you have been made a knight, ride homeward and provide yourself with these necessary articles." Then he said, "What? Yet let me advise you as a father to his son." And he said, "What? After being declared as a knight, I advise that you would go to your hometown, home site, and there you will keep all these necessary articles, means money as well as clean swords." "I will obey you, most noble sir," answered Don Quixote. And Don Quixote said, "What? He will obey, he will follow whatever he is saying." He carried his armor to barnyard and laid it in the horse trough by the well. Barnyard is, you can see, the stable. Then he carried his armor to the stable, and there he kept it beside the horse trough, a trunk rather big trunk beside the well. Then he began to pace to and fro. He held his head high like a soldier on duty, and the old patch helmet falling down over his face gave him a fearful appearance. Now he was walking forward and backward, and when he was walking that time his head was very high like a soldier on duty, and the patched helmet, old patched helmet, that was still on his head, and that gave him a very strange appearance, strange look. During the night, one of the guests, mule driver, tried to get water from the trough for one of his mules. In so doing, he moved Don Quixote's armors, which offered Don Quixote, which offended Don Quixote, who then pushed him away hard. During the night, what happened? One of the guests, he was the mule driver of, you can say, breed horse, and he wanted to take some water for his mule. And when he moved toward the Don Quixote's armor, so it offended Don Quixote, and what happened? Don Quixote pushed him away hard, forcefully rather. But then several of the guests friend came running to the barnyard. But other guests, they also came over there after this incident. When Don Quixote saw them coming, he braced himself with his shield and drew his sword. Now, when Don Quixote saw those people approaching towards him, he just prepared himself with his shield and drew his sword as well for fighting. But he stood bravely at his post, and there he was standing bravely with courage for fighting. Fling on, he cried, I dare you to come with my reach. And he said, come on, I will not allow to reach. Means what? I will not allow you to come to here, to reach here. Let him alone. And somebody said, what? Let him alone. Leave him alone. Cried the innkeeper, he is a harmless fellow who wishes to be become a knight. He has lost his senses through too much reading. Come away and leave him in peace. Now innkeeper said to other guests that what, leave him, he is a harmless fellow, and he has wished to become a knight, and it is happening because of so much reading, and that's why he lost his sense. So leave him alone and allow him to have peace. The innkeeper spoke gently to Don Quixote. Brave sir, you have guarded your armor with courage. You have shown yourself worthy of knighthood, and I will give you that honor without further delay. Innkeeper said, what brave sir means what, you are very brave, and no doubt with the full of courage you guarded your armor throughout the night, and you are perfect for knighthood. So he said, what? Without any delay, I am going to give you this honor. Nothing can please me better, answered Don Quixote. Means what he said, I am very happy. The innkeeper thereupon called to his guest and servant to come and see the ceremony. A book was brought to him in which he kept his accounts of book straw, and in there what happened, actually that was the book which he was going to read, that was the book of account. Means what, he used to take care, he used to have records of straw. Don Quixote stood with the clothes beside his armor. Now Don Quixote, he stood over there close beside his armor. The innkeeper pretended to read a chapter from the book. Don Quixote knelt down in the dust of the barnyard. The innkeeper stood over him and mumbled some words without meaning. Now what happened, innkeeper, he was showing off, he was pretending that he is reading something from that book, and Don Quixote, he knelt down, means what, he sat on his knee and he was listening everything, and the innkeeper stood, he was very close to him and he was reading very slowly some words without having any meaning, means he was making him fool. He gave Don Quixote a blow on the back with his hand and slapped him on his back with the flat of his sword. Now that man, he gave a blow on his neck with his hand and slapped in the back with the flat of his sword, flat side of the sword you can say, at his back. Arise, Sir Knights, he said, that there are Don Quixote de la Mancha, the valiant of man, be always brave. And he said, Knight, you have been become a knight, now stand up, and now you are Don Quixote de la Mancha, a very brave man, bravest of all men rather, be always brave. Don Quixote arose, feeling that he was now in truth a knight and ready to do brave deeds. Now Don Quixote stood up and he was feeling that he has become a knight and he was ready to have brave tasks and he was going to do the brave things, brave deeds. So thank you, have a nice day. But before that, I request from you people to subscribe my channel and share this video to other students as well. Thanks.
Thumbs up.